see how strong it is, now that Io got a bit of a nerf. But something I'm looking forward is Skywrath Mage plus a Centaur. Like, this lane should pretty much stomp, I would say. Like, it's an extremely powerful lane, a lot of aggression coming up from these two heroes.
I have high expectations on the Templar Assassin. I think that this hero has
You told me
been...
it's the most broken hero.
I think that his potential. I think that with the Scepter and her Shard, with the Silence, it's going to be one of the most irritating mids that you have to play with in the coming patch, because she's been under the radar for a very, very long time. So
I agree.
I'm gonna go with Lilgun, but we will see how it all pans out in game number 1, Omega versus Lilgun, with our casters MLP and John X Fire.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We are here for the first best of 3 of the upper division for SEA Season 2, and it is MLP Dota and John X Fire joining you once again. John, welcome back to SEA, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Mike. I'm feeling good. Back to the sea, back to the beaches. It's summertime here in Southeast Asia as well. It's very fitting. We've got, of course, an exciting matchup. Lilgun up against Smart Omega. Panel talked a bit about the history. Now, mind you, Lilgun did beat out Smart Omega in the DPC, but afterwards, in a couple of tournaments in the downtime, Smart Omega has been winning, and that was with their new lineup. That was with Shanks and Sam H in, so we'll see if they can keep that momentum up. It is a different patch now. We'll see if that affects anything. For Lilgun's part, this draft is pretty much in line with what they've loved to play. Lone Druid coming out as their core here. We've seen them dip into this sort of cheese pick, and it has paid off, but again, Smart Omega is not an easy opponent, so they're going to have to pull some surprises here, as it looks like both teams aren't actually going to run into each other. So kind of plumping up around those bounties, but not really finding any of those engagements they want to get.
Talk to me about the IO, though, John. Obviously, the IO may be a little bit nerfed in the previous patch. Is it still a viable position 1, do you think?
I think it is. Like, the timings, as mentioned by the panel, it's a bit tighter. Like, the initial damage isn't great, but once you have your Ags, it's still ridiculous. You have to note as well, Tino was one of the first players to bring back the core IO in Southeast Asia. BTS Pro Series 4, Pro Series 5, and maybe even Pro Series 3, if I'm not forgetting wrong. He was one of the few players that kept reaching into the core IO. And back then, we were doubting it as well, but Tino just somehow makes it work. It's probably a comfort hero for him at this point. So Smart Omega just kind of want to set themselves up with a core that they're very familiar with. And, well, Tino has played a lot of this, so it's just something that he knows the timing and stuff. And I think despite the nerfs, he should still be able to hit those timings well.
Absolutely. Of course, we are having a gander at the mid lane. Sanctity up against Mac. Of course, we do see the mid Beastmaster showing up again on the second day. And I suppose it is still very popular, considering that Aghanim Scepter has not really been changed. Up against the TA, who we haven't really seen much of. Did receive a few changes, but I feel like the Beastmaster might still just be favored.
Yeah, I mean, there's some back and forth you can do here. You've got the range advantage on TA. You can play with your side blades. Mac is obviously not going to go for the board build for the most part. Maybe a value point down the line. Sanctity can punish those summons, and as long as you play around your refraction here for Sanctity, you're not going to be worried too much about the damage. It can still pile up, so you have to watch that spacing, but maybe once you hit level 3, level 4, Mac shouldn't be able to overrun you, but you can't really stop Mac from just sitting back and spamming those axes anyway.
Of course, that bot lane, you'll see Sam H and Shanks up against X123 and Ace 12. Very dangerous kind of lane here for the side of Lilgun. That Centaur, if you do manage to land the Hoof Stomp, it's going to be a lot of follow-up damage there from Shanks on the Skywrath. Very dangerous indeed, but I'm sure 123 should be able to just sit back and relax for a bit. Quite interesting as well that they opted to go for the Lone Druid route, which is another hero we haven't seen very often. And I'm very curious to see how powerful it is in the current patch.
It's again about comfort here for Lilgun. They played a lot of Lone Druid in the DPC and even afterwards in a couple of smaller tournaments that came in between. It's just something they're very comfy with the timings with. They know how to play around with the bear, get the aggression out. There's a lot of versatility with going for the LD and the bear build as well nowadays. So we'll see what they opt for down the line. You will have to watch that lane matchup. Like, you get that Ancient Seal off, as mentioned before, and you get double edge off down the line. So maybe level 3, level 4 spikes here, even level 5. Could be dangerous.
That's a lot of damage on Tino. He's going to be alright. CML was there just in case they needed the Aphotic Shield, but Lilgun so far in terms of lanes, things are going pretty decently. Mid lane, of course, evening out right now. 16 to 15 last hits between the two. I'd say the bot lane is going pretty well, and the top lane also going pretty decently for Lilgun so far. We'll see what Omega does do about it. I mean, it is still very early days here, so there's not really much in the way of predicting who's really ahead. In fact, Omega is the one with a very slight net worth lead. In fact, bot lane, they are going to make a bit of a jump onto Sam H. Top lane, though, they are also jumping CML, and neither side really going to commit too hard. I suppose there isn't too much kill potential in any lane yet anyway, as you do need quite a few levels up on these supports to actually get them going. So both teams are going to try and stick to farming for now. You see CML getting a little bit aggressive here onto Marvel, but it's not really going to mean too much. And of course, you just saw in that mid lane as well, Mac was dropping fairly low on the Beastmaster, but yeah, he's going to be all right.
And he's got the runes up. He can just grab bounty, top up, even though it's still just down to 2 charges again. It's still a lot to play around with mid, but you are giving Sanctity space out on the mid to kind of get his farm back going as well. So you're giving a lot more space towards the TA. The flash farm for the TA can't really skyrocket if you let it get some levels up.
Ace.
And again,
Nice stun out on Shanks. He thought about going back for the courier, but realized he couldn't really afford to. We'll just salve up and walk away. So I do like the fact that Ace is trying to pull that large camp before he can get the pull off, but it looks like Shanks was dedicated enough to make sure that pull did occur. Of course, they will still get the small camp pull on the side of Lilgun anyway, so it does even out. It does allow 1-2-3 to get involved now and try to be a little bit more aggressive as Sam H, he's going to have his mana drained, but it's not too big of a deal. And meanwhile, mid lane, Mac, again dropping extremely low on the Beastmaster, but will barely be able to get out.
yeah, it's just such a tough lane for the Beastmaster to hold. You get hits up a couple of times here by the TA. You get a lot of minus armor going. You don't hold that lane too well. Sure, you can try to build up stacks if you're Wild Axis. Against the Refraction, the added damage will still stack up, but it takes way too much spam early on for the Beastmaster to kind of sustain that playstyle. So just a bit more of an edge here for Sanctity early on. And the side lanes, we're still trying to get aggressive. We are hitting some level spikes here. Sam H is now level 5. He did opt for Max and Retaliate, so he wants to hold the lane steady instead of looking for opportunities with his Skyrat Mage. That does mean, again, it's a more passive lane. The supports just poke each other, but the cores are still finding that farm they'd want on both sides.
But they are. Now he's going to take a fair bit of damage out from Shanks. It's still going to be just fine. Neither team really finding that first blood opportunity quite yet, but we really haven't seen many rotations occurring either. Which I suppose is to be quite expected when you've got a Beastmaster TA mid. You're not really going to expect too many rotations early on. Both sides really just want to farm up and get those levels up as Ishki gonna run into Mac. Mac will just roar him immediately on the Tiny. Can he find himself out of this? It looks like he can. Mac, he went back for the bounty, but still can't get the axes on target, and CML is gonna be the one to get the first blood gold on the Abaddon. Very nice stuff.
Really nice kill to get. Mac just kind of zoning out for Maroon for the bounty. He really wanted to get it, didn't want to give it to the Tiny, and CML seeing that opportunity to TP down makes for a nice rotation. Of course, they might want to line up for Sanctity, but without Roar, the TA is a tougher target, and CML's only at level 4, so his potential tankiness up front and his damage isn't as great, but some early movement out from Smart Omega. And the one thing with these lanes is that for both sides, it's really hard to bully out some of these cores. Like Lone Druid, you can maybe drop down, he can just sit back with his bear, and that just allows 1-2-3 to kind of farm up safely. Same thing for Tino up against Marvel. Like the Underlord versus Io is really not one where you expect either side to get any kills, so the supports can just kind of roam around the jungle, maybe get stacks, you just play poke with the other supports, but it does mean the side lanes hold very steady, for the meantime at least, in the laning phase.
Things are starting to look a little bit concerning here for Omega. Like, you look at the side of Lilgun, and those top 2 net worths right now are 1-2-3, and the TA, of course, Sanctity. Now, it's going to be a bit of a concern for Omega as these heroes, once you get to that mid-game, assuming you got a good laning stage going, you can really just snowball and take over the game. I'm wondering what Omega intends to do as top lane. CML is going to get hit down by Marvel. Tino, unable to help out on the IO, of course, is just going to have to back off, and As I said, John, every lane is just going very well for Lilgun. And I'm afraid for Omega, with their draft, they may not be able to keep up throughout the mid-game.
Radiant's top tower
For
is
Omega's
under
side, they
attack.
have to wait for some spikes here. They're basically waiting for level 6 on Shanks to really get some good rotations out with, say, the Mystic Flare available and a combination you have with a Centaur. And you're also going to be waiting until Mac has his Ag. He's rushing it, going Brown Boot, Soul Ring, straight into the Agnums. It's still kind of building up, but you are allowing the TA to keep pace. And the one thing with the TA is you definitely don't want to see Sanctity with an early Desolator into the blink. You can just rip up, as mentioned, the combination with the Lone Druid in terms of physical damage output, with the Meld minus armor, with the Side Blades bouncing around. There's a lot to rip through these heroes on Smart Omega.
Oh, Stampede committed. Not really sure for what. Nobody was in danger across the map, I don't believe. Everyone was fine. Maybe a bit of a misclick there from Sam H. Well, X123, he sees an Abaddon. He'll just back right out of there with the Spirit Bearer and just go up toward the top lane. And of course, with the Lone Druid, John, you can always push towers down very, very fast. They are going to try and trade down to the bot side of the map. And that should be pretty quick themselves with the Beastmaster. So it looks like both teams just happy to trade towers. Neither one really wanted the big team fight yet. I still feel like this favors Lilgun. Just allowing the TA and Lone Druid to farm up like this is never going to feel good for Omega.
Yeah, I mean, you are getting something here from Omega. Like, it's space out for Tino to clear out the jungle. He already has his Dominator up, so he's fairly efficient there in jungle clearing out stacks. It's a bit slower due to the nerfs to the spirit damage, but again, it's not too bad. You're still getting that pace out. As long as they can protect the IO and hit those item spikes, I don't think Smart Omega minds too much. Like, they're starting to get some EXP going as well. They really just need a Skyrat Mage to hit 6. Like, Shanks has sacrificed his own gain quite a fair bit just to ensure Sam H has a good time. But now he's got space down mid to soak that EXP, and you should expect something to happen, especially since he has his Veil of Discord up. Like, there's so much magic damage that can come out. They just need a combo to be ready here.
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely got the damage, that's for sure. Maybe just waiting on Sam H to feel ready to start initiating for the team, or even, of course, their Beastmaster, Mac. Speaking of Mac, he is getting fairly close now to having the Aghanim Scepter up, which might be about that time where they want to start moving as a team. Still, mid lane. CML looks like he's been caught out on the Abaddon again, and of course, he's not level 6 yet, so he will die. Now the Hex is out. Sam H, he tried to get a stun in time. Wasn't quite there, and Lilgun, they're just going to back off. A nice easy pick-off for them. Sam H, he's being very aggressive with his positioning. He does have the backup. Lilgun, they are not interested in participating. Or maybe they are, because they're going to chase down Sam H and force another Stampede. That'll be the second Stampede of the game that really hasn't amounted to anything.
It doesn't hurt the center as much, mainly because of that buff on the cooldown, like 90 seconds to use for an escape. It's gonna be up by the next fight, unless Lilgun really force the issue. They are smoked up right now, though. You've got Ace and Hishki, and they're both at level 6. They've got a ton of burst on hand, and if they catch out anyone, it's probably a dead hero.
Oh, smoke pop, but Shanks, he runs right into them. Ace 12, he gives him the finger, but now Mac, he'll turn around with Aurora and will at least find one as a trade. They might even be able to take down Ace if they can get a stun off in time, but no, Sam H, he was unable to close the gap. They do at least get a trade for themselves, and again, it's a very even game so far between these two teams. 3-2 right now is mid lane. Just had to be around to defend the tier 1 tower, which was being forced in by the Underlord. That'll be pretty much it. Looks like they are indeed just going to continue waiting on Tino to feel ready on the IO.
Yeah, it's kind
They
of
are
the same
putting all their
playstyle.
trust in him.
It's kind of the same playstyle for Lilgun as well. Like, Sanctity is still saving up for the Desolator, more than likely into the Blink. They're getting some free farm here out for 123, who is also going for a Desolator after this Mask of Madness on the bear. Maybe a bit inefficient, but I don't think you mind too much. It allows you to really just play solo as Lone Druid, go into any lane and pressure a tower if you want to. And again, when it comes down to a farm war, you are getting a little bit more here from Lilgun. It's a lot more efficient for the TA to clear out these camps at this point. Just so much damage on hand, pretty good mobility on hand as well.
Sam H.
Just walking around, they're not punching it.
Mid lane, he's been locked up. Do they have the damage output for the tanky Centaur? They may just. The Meld Strike comes in, but CML is going Gonna be out with the Aphotic Shield, and that's gonna be enough to force them back, at least for now. Only problem being, though, is they can easily take this tier 1 mid tower, unless Omega want to take a 5v5 team fight. But it doesn't seem like they want to. They'll stick around with the Wild Axes and keep pushing out the lane, but Lilgun, they might just commit here. Pitamal's down. MH still frontlining, but here comes the Bear, and now Sanctity, he's going to be in danger as they get the stun out with the Mystic Flare, but a great toss away is going to stop anything from occurring, at least for now, but Sanctity is still being chased down. They will eventually find the kill, and now Omega, they can make something happen here. Onto Marvel they go. That'll be a dead Underlord. It's into the mid-tier 1 towers themselves. They even found Hishki, who came back in for an avalanche toss, but it wasn't quite enough to do much. Right into that tier 1 mid tower. Omega, they played that team fight extremely well.
And you've got to respect that burst damage. You get the Ancient Seal off, you get the Flare off, even with the toss out, it's just not enough. Beautiful wraparound from Tino as well from the back to clean up. If you get so many kills on the IO, it just accelerates that farm. And the one thing here for Smart Omega as well, when they throw these spells out, they're lower cooldowns compared to the side of Lilgun. Like, Finger is such a long cooldown, 160 seconds still. There's more uptime for Smart Omega to play with their own burst, and they can just easily force fights whenever. That's why it's really low committal from them. They've stalled out long enough that Mac does have his Ags up, so you've got that major spike on the Beastmaster, and he can really just do what he wants to on the map. Like, he's got consistent damage output now. He can look at the Roche if the side of Smart Omega wants to try to pressure that objective early. There are some good wards here from Lilgun watching the area, though, so they're going to have to commit a smoke if they want to sneak that one out.
Bot lane, Hishki needs to be a little bit cautious. Shanks does find him, but won't have what it takes to initiate. His team wasn't really nearby. So again, it's a bit of a farming kind of game here between these two teams, as Tino will just keep going on the IO, but now Shanks has gone very, very deep underneath the Sentry Ward.
Oh, 1, 2, 3?
And he's basically a one-shot by Sanctity, but top lane, Tino kills off 1, 2, 3 with Mac. And that's a really bad trade for Lilgun. Definitely very bad news.
And this is the point where you can see some more activity from Smart Omega. Like, Lone Druid still needs time to cook up. We're seeing the Ag Short being saved up here, so you're going to have that Dispel on hand and AoE fairly strong, but until then, like, without a way of protecting yourself, if the LD is caught out alone like that, it's very easy to punish, and you have to respect Relocate, you have to respect Stampede, you can be all over the map very quickly for Smart Omega, and you just don't have that kind of mobility on Lilgun yet. Like, Sanctity saving up for the Blink, maybe the Aghanims would be pretty good to counteract, say, the Relocate plays here, but until those items are up, you can't really expect to match that pacing just yet.
MH, mid lane, a lot of damage flying in, but CML is trying to help out, but it's not going to be enough. In fact, now CML is going to be the one in danger. As he tries to run, but there's your route out from the Spirit Bearer, and well, there's just no way out. More TPs coming into the mid lane as they are preparing to defend that mid-tier 1 tower. And with the Aghanim Scepter on the Beastmaster, it's not going to be too hard. In fact, Mac, he does secure the kill on Marvel. And there's actually so many ways of getting damage out from a huge range away. With those, I guess, the Spirits plus the Wild Axes, it's kind of impossible to push down a tower now.
And it's very difficult to commit, and they do trade fairly well there for Smart Omega. They drop their support, they get Core Underlord in exchange. You've got the Ags up on Tino, so he's just able to really apply that early damage on, and it's still strong. Like, you saw him twacking away on the Underlord. He had a Hood of Defiance. It's just not enough when you have to deal with that in Axis. Like, the reduction is just simply not enough. The shield is not enough as well.
Well, nice smoke break there from Ace. He's just going to have to tank the gank here for the team. Now, if they can get everyone else out, I think Lilgun should be happy, but Mac's got a haste rune and he still has that roar up. He is getting more efficient with those axes out. 1, 2, 3 now. Going to get scouted, but it's already got the melee form off.
Radiant's bottom tower is
That's going to be enough for Omega. Start slowly heading towards the Rosharp pit, but they do jump in Lilgun. They want to go straight after CML. But the Abaddon, just so tanky, will turn right back around onto the Tiny, and they will get at least one as Marvel now. He's trying to Dark Rift down to there, but there is no time for that. Just going to get the car warmed up. And Omega, I think they're just going to go for an easy Rosharp.
This is an issue for Lilgun. Like, they can't really team fight well. Their best AoE control is Pit of Malice with Avalanche Toss. Maybe you can get a good Bird Spike or Fear off from the low end druid as well, but it just doesn't compare to Hoof Stomp. It doesn't compare to all the axes flying through in a wide AoE, the spirits coming out, and just see how fast this Roche melts. It's just ridiculous with these Ags timings. Really well timed from Tino and Mac to kind of approach their item timings very close to each other, and sure, they only have a 3k lead here in Smart Omega, but this is the moment where they're strong. Lilgun need to try to find a way to slow this game down, get their farm going on 1-2-3, protect him as much as possible, and stall the game out to get the TA and the low end druid to the point where they can just stand in front and do the damage they need to do.
Yeah, I think it was Sanctity. Just top lane kills off Shanks by himself, which I suppose is to be expected if the TA finds you. I just saw a ball try and find this Beastmaster, but it seems though Mac is well aware of what's going on, and of course with these axes, they'll find the illusion, but Shanks, he's happy with what he just saw as Ace. He's going to get caught out now. He tries for the TP play, but Mac is going to commit the Roar. Now Marvel is going to be in danger. As the spirits come in, the Pit of Malice has been dropped, but he is just such a slow Underlord. There's no way out of this one. Sam H will lock him down and Mac will take a double. And you know, Lilgun, they learned the hard way, John, that your smoke doesn't break on an illusion, which is how you know. Unless they've changed it and I'm not aware of it, but...
Oh no, it should still work that way. Just unfortunate for Lilgun. They're kind of feeling pressured to try and be aggressive. Like, they found one kill, they figure they can take the 4v5 afterwards. It just doesn't line up. They don't get the initiation they want. Once they blow the Avalanche Toss, they lack burst. Like, you have Finger, sure, but even the Ace's Finger, it's stuck at level 1 right now. It's not enough damage to get that initial burst going on a hero. They do get the wraparound here in 1-2-3 though with Smoke.
That they do. They take him down? Yeah, they definitely can. Very easily, and Sam H will let them know about it. And I believe it was Lacoste on the panel saying he did not really believe too much in the lone druid pickup, and I've got to kind of agree with him right now. It just feels very lackluster.
Yeah, it's not really returning on the investment yet, and even then, the investment, it's starting to sink down. Like, 1-2-3's below the farm of Sam H. He had a lot of free space. It's just been dragging down from all these stats. Sanctity now is trying to buy that space out. He's pushing top. There is a response here. He does have at least all these traps to scout out, but even these kinds of plays just never feel too safe.
CML's going to have his borrowed time popped, and now Marvel, he's going to go right in onto Sam H, but he blinks away in time. Hishki, he couldn't really get much done on top side. Sanctity ties. Mac and Shanks, they get a bit of revenge, and now back on the bot side, Omega, they're going to try and move in, knowing that the TA is dead. It shouldn't be too hard of a team fight. They're going to try out to Marvel, but he does get the Dark Rift away. But they still manage to find the tier 2 bottom tower. And Lilgun, yeah, I said they were going to be strong in the mid game, John, but that good laning start just proved to not really be a factor. Omega, they're just playing way too well.
And they were just allowed to sit back and allow Tino and Mac to farm in the jungle. Like, there were some moments where Lilgun could maybe have looked to play aggressive, but they've got 2 heavy farming cores as well. And the power spikes of those cores just doesn't feel like it's enough. Like, RTA has Blink Deso, and you saw Sanctity trying to split push, but you have to respect the Hawks. Like, he was hiding in the forest, but there's so much vision that Omega can get just with a Beastmaster and damage that it's just hard to play that split push game. And Lilgun are being punished for this kind of pace. Smart Omega just able to stand in front. Sam H having a lot of impact after that slower start. Like, ever since he got the Vanguard Hood of Defiance at minute 12 and 13 or somewhere around that time zone, he's been unkillable. He just stands in front, he cops all the damage. The rest of his team is there to back him up. They only killed him once, and that's just because CML couldn't gap close to give him a shield. So they haven't been able to even answer the Centaur. They've jumped Sam H a couple of times in these fights. They need to redivert their focus, find someone else to pick off here on the side of Lilgun.
Yeah, I'm certainly agreeing with you on that, John. Sam H been doing a great job, making it very hard, but they do go in Hishki. He finds Sam H again. They'll commit everything on him. He's going to be just fine. He stampedes away, and now they'll reinitiate the team fight. CML is right onto Hishki. They'll get the Tiny. And Lilgun, they are finding nothing as now they're surrounded by Tino, who cuts them off from the backside. Marvel is going to try and fight this one out, but it's not looking great. Mac, he found the roar on the TA. Sanctity's gone. Marvel is dropping very, very low and should just die here, and does. And Omega once again just playing these team fights perfectly. They even get the Hawk dive going. It always feels kind of bad when you get stunned up by a Hawk.
Radiant's middle tower
That's what
is
just
under
happened.
attack.
In Omega, they're onto the high ground.
I mean, kind of cursed them. I just said he can't jump Sam H. They throw everything they have on the Centaur, and it just doesn't amount to much. Now he's being held up by the IO. They're melting right through the high ground. They can't get Megas as the top lane's completely safe, but they're still going to be able to find at least one Rax. And Lilgun, they just need to find a new angle, find a new approach in this game. Maybe wait for the BKB on their TA, but even then, that just makes you a primary roar target for Mac.
Radiant's middle barracks has fallen.
On the brighter side, John, they didn't end up stacking those Desolators like we thought earlier on, so that's good news for Lilgun. But
Radiant's top tower is under
I
attack.
guess it doesn't really matter anymore. So Omega are in complete control of this game.
Radiant's top tower has fallen.
In the top tier 1 tower now, Lilgun, they're going to move in, but Sam H is right in there with a double
Oh my
stun
God.
onto the Lion. Ace, he's just going to melt, or maybe not. They're trying to save the day. Shanks, he's the one dropping low, but he's still getting out of there just fine. Now Mac will move into the back lines, and Ace will just die with axes in the back of his head. Sam H moves in again for another stun. Hishki just trying to get out. Sanctity, he'll go right back in onto the Centaur, but how do you kill this guy? The avalanche toss is there. Tino, he just keeps him alive. They can't kill Sam H. They're still trying. They've lost the Tiny again. Oh, it's just a disaster right now.
Oh.
Sanctity tries again onto Sam H, but they can't kill him. They just can't get through the raw HP pool. So
Oh my
give another
God.
Sanctity, he'll die before the taxi gets him out. He needed an ambulance, not a taxi. It just never came, John.
Ooh. Yeah, that's pretty bad for Lilgun. Emergency medical services just not getting there in time, and I mean Omega, they're 17k up, 7-22. They're just playing fantastically, and you have an issue here. Like this time around, they jumped CML after Sam H, and it's still not the target. It's still an Abaddon. He's got a Solar Crest on top. He's got the Borrow Time always off cooldown. You need to maybe reach out and try to kill off Tino, but with the BKB, it's just
Sam
nearly
H.
impossible.
Another great initiation there onto Marvel. It's not going to be quite enough damage to take him out. But Sam H, he's instilling the fear of God into Lilgun right now, just
Radiant's top
constantly
tower is
making
under
sure he
attack.
jumps in, gets a nice little cheeky stun off, and just
Radiant's
backs
top
off to his
tower
team
is
again.
fallen.
And Lilgun, you can just kind of tell by the way they're positioned, they just don't feel safe across the map. They've got to just stick on their high ground. While Omega, they're just taking over the map. They're in the triangle now. They're waiting for the right opportunity to jump back in and find a pickoff. And Lilgun, they're going to make their way out. They're going to try. You're looking at CML again, but that's the Abaddon. He has borrowed time. He has the Aphonic Shield. They've got 4 heroes around him, but they just know they can't take him out before his team does join him. That'll be it. They've just got to go back to their high ground, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they're just forced to farm in this very small area of the map. They do have CML under vision, but
I do hear a roar. It was indeed onto Hishki. And, I mean, Mac on this Beastmaster, he's having a great old time as they even found
Shanks.
another ace. The concussive shot going to go the other way, but it won't really matter too much. They get the Ancient Seal off, and with the Mystic Flare to fly in, just look at the HP pool. You know what Shanks does need to do now? He needs to get that Shards upgrade going.
Oh,
That top
1, 2, 3.
lane. 3 almost dying. Action all across the map. But like I said, John, I'd love to see the Shards upgrade
Oh, yeah.
for Mr. Shanks. Why the hell not?
Yeah, you know, he's close to having the gold. I think he just saves up for it. I mean, he already has his Ghost Scepter. It's hard to kill him off. Like, you focus down with physical on your 2 cores. Once you blow your Avalanche Toss and Finger, you're not going to have anything to pierce through the Ghost Scepter as well. Maybe you can get a Firestorm with a good pit, but very disciplined play from Shanks throughout, saving his Force Staff for those crucial moments. And Smart Omega are just really hard to burst down
Radiant's
now. Like
bottom
Lilgun, they
tower
are
is
smoked
under
up.
attack.
They're going to try to isolate one.
Not Sam H, not again. They'll miss the avalanche
they
to
missed.
Bootshanks. He's being targeted now, but he's running out of there just fine. And Sam
Oh,
H,
Sam
he's
H?
right back in onto the clone Druid. They want 1, 2, 3 dead immediately. Look at the damage output. They still can't kill Sam H. They'll toss him back in, but that might work against them. As Sanctity, he was rolled up. The Dark Rift, is it going to make it in time? No, they barely get it. The kill as the finger flies out now. Tino on a triple kill. They even found the TA on the high ground. They won't give the Rampage to Tino, but it won't matter because they get something even better. They get the game 1 win. And John, it was a very decisive kind of game here for Omega. I mean, the laning stage, it was pretty quiet, but after the lane, you hit the mid game and they just took over. It wasn't even close.
Yeah, they were just allowed to farm into those Ags timings, and Lilgun needed to play faster with the heroes they had in hand, but they couldn't.
That they couldn't, John, and with that, of course, we are going to head back to the panel and see what they thought about this game number 1.
What I thought about game number 1 is much what I thought at the Singapore Major. You know, I had